Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following ways. Notice published in the Courier News, notice posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, notice made available to the township clerk, notice sent to the Courier News and the Star Ledger. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Waller,
Present.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Here.
Ms. Corcoran,
Here.
Reverend Kenny,
Here.
Mike Foster,
Here.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
he's here, and Madam Chair.
Here. Mr. Barlow, would you read the open public meeting notice, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. This meeting is being conducted through an online meeting platform. In keeping with the Department of Community Affairs guidelines, Planning Board has tried its best to comply with the Open Public Meeting Act and the guidelines in dealing with the online public meeting. The applicant whose matter will be heard this evening had the login information for the online meeting platform in their notice. Members of the public who wish to be heard will be afforded an opportunity to be heard. We just ask that you raise your hand at the appropriate time frame, and we'll do our best to comply with the guidelines in the Open Public Meetings Act. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The flag can be seen over my right shoulder. Can we all recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have the swearing in of the professionals tonight, please?
Certainly, if Mr. Foote and Mr. Clarkin, if you could raise your right hand. You swear any testimony you give before this board this evening will be the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Mr. Barlow, are there any changes to our agenda tonight?
Madam Chair, the only slight change is item number 12, the Rivercrest matter will be heard. With number 11, they're going to just switch places. And
Okay.
as I've previously advised, Mr. Keneally will be handling the Rivercrest matter because of a conflict, so I will have to recuse myself.
Okay. May I have a motion from some members of the board to pay the duly audited bills?
Reverend Kenny, I make a motion that you duly pay the bills.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Did
Mayor
you get
Waller?
that? Okay.
I got everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Mayor
Mhm.
Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Item number 8, adoption of resolution to memorialize the meeting of November the 13th. Oh, none. We're
None
not going to do
available.
that. None. Okay, move on to item 9, adoption of the minutes for the regular meeting of November the 13th.
Reverend
have a
Kenny,
motion?
I'll make a motion for the adoption of November 13th, 2024 meeting.
Thank you. A second, please.
Dawn
I
Corcoran.
second it.
I got you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Mayor
Roll call,
Waller?
please.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Discussion for a 1-year extension of time for item 22 PB 06/07 V as in Victor at 1112 Brookside Road, block 8001, lot 9. Tim Arch.
Ma-
Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Barlow.
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, this was a prior approval by the board for a subdivision, minor subdivision on November 13th, 2024. Mr. Arch from Mr. Prasad's office had forwarded a letter requesting an extension of time. They're running into two issues. The first is they have an NJDEP permit that has been filed and they're waiting for sign off from the DEP. The second matter is they're purchasing a 10-foot strip of property from Piscataway Township It's my understanding from speaking to Mr. Clarkin that that should hopefully take place by the end of January. As a result of those two items, I guess as an abundance of caution, they've requested an extension of time for 1 year till November 16th, 2025. Mr. Prasad, if you have anything else you want to add to that, feel
I
free.
couldn't have said it better myself.
So it seems to be a reasonable request, and if it's the board's pleasure, Madam Chair, it would be appropriate for a motion to grant the extension of time.
Okay, do I have a motion from the board to grant this extension request?
Motion, Councilwoman Cahill.
Do I have a second?
Dawn Corcoran, second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I'd have just to dot my i's and cross my t's, I did prepare a resolution confirming the extension of time. If the board wants to grant that, that's one less thing you have to do at next month's meeting.
Okay. Do I have a motion to grant to propose the resolution to grant this extension of time?
Madam Chair, Reverend Kenny, extended extension of time, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second the resolution, Madam Chair.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, since the next matter is number 12, the Rivercrest, I will step out and allow Mr. Keneally to take over, and I'll come back when it's done and be ready for snack innovations.
Okay, Mr. Keneally?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board. This is a discussion of whether or not property located at Rivercrest Drive and Orchard Street meets the criteria to be determined as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. I believe you have your planner here, Mr. Clarkin, who performed that study, who will give you a briefing on his findings.
Come forward, Mr. Clark, and you have already been sworn in. You want to?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. I believe I'm sharing my screen.
You are?
All right, so I will get into it. So as Mr. Keneally so kindly said, my name is James Clark in Foresight Planning. I prepared this study for this board. This is for block 7305, lots 1901, 20, and 21. I'm actually going to skip ahead all the way to the end because you'll see a nice little map so we can just get some context of where we are in terms of the township. So if you were going along River Road and you took Rivercrest Drive all the way to the end, you would hit Rivercrest Cabana Club. So as you can see, lot 19.01, which is where the pool or swim club actually resides within those boundaries, that is the majority of the study area. The two others are paper street lots, which I'll get into a little bit more. But as you can see, mostly residential surrounding the club. You have Kanakamak Middle School, you have Martin Luther King. Right next door is a rehab center, and north is the former Erickson site. So skipping back, page 3 maybe. I'll kind of give some more context as to current conditions. Oh, skipped too many. Just describing these lots. So as I said, lot 19.01 is where Rivercrest Cabana Club is located. It was originally constructed back in 1960 as a private member summer pool club. So the other lots are actually owned by the township. So that's lot 20, which is 0.1 acres or 5160 Orchard Street, and lot 21, 5170 Orchard Street, which is about 0.09 acres. As I said, they are paper street lots and were never constructed. And they've really just become a part of the gravel parking lot for the pool. No need for that street ever arose, so it just was never constructed and kind of just stayed that way. This entire study area, all 3 lots, is within your R10 residential zone, which, as you know, is primarily single-family residential. So during my on-site investigation back on September 30th of this year, I observed the conditions, and as you can imagine, the summer swim club was shut down for the summer season. So no one was there. Everything was kind of packed up for this for the fall and the winter. But basically, what is there today on the parcel is a 6-lane, 25-yard swimming pool. You have a smaller kiddie pool, a 1-story cabana club, a small half-story pump house, 2 storage sheds, a party tent, a volleyball court, basketball court, diving board, and other accessories, tables, things of that nature that you would typically find at such a pool club. So the cabana club itself is probably the biggest structure, or is the biggest structure on the property. It has an open air entryway, a lifeguard office, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen, all found within that 1-story cabana club. And it's not more than 2,000 square feet. The half-story pump house is sort of half built into the ground behind the pool. It includes all your pumps, filters, plumbing equipment that you would find to operate 2 pools. That is located there. It's pretty small, only about 100 square feet. So just as a note, that in discussions with the president of the swim club, it was advised that membership has significantly declined in the last few years, where really the swim club is not really able to survive economically. You know, expenses continue to rise, as we've all seen in this economic environment, and total membership fees are declining. So at the conclusion of the 2025 swim club season, or summer season, I should say, they plan to close down for good. And it's my opinion that the state of disrepair, substandard, and unwholesome conditions for both the patrons and the workers there may have contributed, or did contribute, to the decline in membership, and ultimately leading to the decision to close the pool permanently. We did do some, due diligence, as always. No building or zoning records were found for this lot, though. However, it is in your sewer service area. And also due diligence was also done for environmental concerns, and nothing came up, not even wetlands, not one hit for NJDEP. So no environmental concerns for these 3 lots. I think I already went over the surrounding land uses on the map, so I'm going to skip to the master plan perspective, which is pretty consistent through all the studies that I prepare for this board. So that, as you know, vacant developable land is very rare in this township, and this increases opportunities for redevelopment. And since this was first developed in 1960, this definitely counts as an older section of the township that is ripe for redevelopment, in my opinion. So now that I've kind of given some context of where we are and what is the current conditions, I'm going to show you some photos of what I found when I was there. So this first photo is kind of looking at the cabana club on the inside. So that first door right there is the lifeguard office. There's a middle door for a men's restroom, and then towards the end was the snack bar / kitchen. This is an outdoor view of the clubhouse, and you kind of see the volleyball court as well. So you can see that the construction is original, back to when it was first opened in 1960. Nothing has changed, just a 1-story cinder block structure. Moving on, you can kind of see this is more off to the side of the cabana club. But the first picture that I think shows some of the unwholesome conditions right here is a picture of the women's restroom, which lacks proper ADA access, and I'm pretty sure the layout does not meet building code. When this was built, it was, the building codes weren't the same as they are today, and just the layout and the footprint may not meet code, which makes it unwholesome, in my opinion. Here's a picture of the lifeguard office, which, as you can see, is very small. It definitely could not serve all the staff members that were hired during the summer season, as there's only 1 desk and not really enough room for everyone that needs working space. This is the curb, or entryway sidewalk, I should say, from the gravel parking lot. And as you can see, just not graded properly for ADA access. Just another lack of improvements that have not occurred since it was originally opened. It's just a view of the gravel parking area that was never improved. This is another picture of the men's room. As you can see, no ADA stall, very tight quarters, probably does not meet building code if it were to be inspected today. This is a view, actually kind of looking north. That's the party tent I mentioned. And then this is the first picture of the kitchen / snack bar. You can see the hot water heater under there and the small ventilation fan that I don't think would meet code standards today for a modern kitchen. And then you can kind of see the tight quarters here, all the storage space, the 3 fridges, and it's actually blocking a window, which is another lack of outside access. This is just a wide view area. You can see the pump house in the back, and those are the 2 pools. Closer view of the tent and the shed. And then another thing is the pump house was also built originally in 1960 and it has not had major improvements. So I think that in itself is substandard to today's requirements. And then a few other photos of the other shed towards the rear. Definitely too close to the property line and some inadequate storage. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So now on to applying the statutory criteria. So based on these conditions, it's my opinion that it meets criteria A, which is the buildings are showing conditions that are in a state of disrepair, substandard, unsafe, and have unwholesome guest and working conditions that have left in their current state is unsafe to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. There's substandard structures that have not been improved, as I said, very small, compact, unsafe spaces, no ADA access, and the lifeguard office is not large enough to handle all the staff levels, but also more importantly, just ventilation and lack of air conditioning on these very hot summer days as they get hotter is definitely of a safety concern. As I said, the restrooms and the kitchen definitely seem or are showing lack of ADA access and ventilation concerns. And so overall, I think that lot 19.01 specifically, because that's the one that holds the Cabana Club, meets the criteria for A of the redevelopment code, or law, I should say. Now, criteria E is more concerned with 2 primary factors that have to be met in order for the properties to meet the criteria. So the first is diverse ownership, or diverse ownership of title that discourages undertaking improvements. And I think this is, I'm not sure why that skipped ahead, but I definitely think that's the case here. As the 2 paper street lots that I mentioned are owned by the township. Sorry, I jump around. So that's one owner, and then the Rivercrest Cabana Club is the private owner of the actual pool. So this diverse ownership of the respective properties has been an impediment to land assemblage and hinders redevelopment of all 3 lots into a more modern and better use. So, sorry, was there a question? So yeah, so by creating a single parcel, would possibly create one owner for the redevelopment process, and put it to more productive use than currently exists today. And then, sorry, I was talking about diversity of ownership, and the other is lack of proper utilization of the lots, which I also went into. You know, it's definitely of note that neither of the paper streets have ever had a need for either the township because there was just no need for access for a new neighborhood, and also it's never been developed by private capital either, as there's been no need for those 2 small paper lots and the pool. So with those 2 portions of the criteria being met, I think that criteria E of the local redevelopment and housing law applies to all 3 study lot areas, or study area lots, I should say. And I think designating them as such would open up more opportunities for land assemblage and redevelopment to reverse the negative conditions. And then finally, criteria H, as you know, is the smart planning criteria. I think redeveloping this would be a really great opportunity for infill on a small scale that would advance smart growth principles such as a walkable community near schools and recreational parks. And it would promote development in an area of existing infrastructure, given that the residential neighborhood is already there. You have proper access roads and sewer service and all those important infrastructure needs for such a small scale infill. So I find that the study area also meets the H criteria. So in summation, I recommend that this board and the Township Council designate the study area an area in need of redevelopment based on the fact that Block 7305, Lot 19.01 meets criteria A, and that lots 19.01, 20, and 21 meets criteria E and H. If we move forward with that, we'll be able to prepare a redevelopment plan that would also go before this board and hopefully reverse the stagnant conditions that I've shown in this report. So it's my recommendation that we designate the study area as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. So with that, I can take some questions.
Thank you. Could you take your exhibit down? Thank you.
Sure.
Members of the board, do you have any questions of Mr. Clarkin at this time regarding his testimony?
Madam Chair, it's Councilwoman Cahill. Mr. Clarkin, I was re-looking through your report. Did I see, and I apologize, now I can't exactly find it. Did I see a space where it's the recommendation for an area of redevelopment, but without a suggested use, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, usually in need of redevelopment studies do not suggest a use. I just think possible uses could be residential in nature, given the location to schools, parks, etc. On a small scale infill.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
No
Any
problem.
other members of the board have questions? Then I think we should open it up to the public for any questions that they may have on this testimony. Members of the public, anyone in the public wishing to make a comment on this testimony by Mr. Clarkin regarding the redevelopment, this area in need of redevelopment?
No one, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Close to the public.
At this
Members-
point, Madam Chair, if there's no more discussion, if the board agrees with Mr. Clarkin's findings, then you would entertain a motion to find this area to be in need of redevelopment on a non-condemnation basis.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Madam Chair, Dawn Corcoran, I will make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Reverend Kenny, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes,
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hamed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, in anticipation of that vote this evening, I have prepared a resolution which is before you, recognizing that finding.
Thank you. Mr. Keneally, would a member of the board like to propose this resolution or recommend this resolution? Move this resolution, I should say.
And Kenny, so move this resolution for the
As an area in need of
an area of redevelopment.
Do I have a second, please?
Dawn
I
Corcoran, I'll
second
second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
yes,
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hamed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
That concludes my service to the board this evening. Have a good evening, everyone. I'll return you to Mr. Barlow.
Thank you very much.
happy
tomorrow night.
holidays.
Thank you.
You too.
Keneally.
See you tomorrow, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Item number 11.
Correct.
Snack Innovations, 41 Ethel Road, 21 PB 36/37 as in Victor. Amendment to prior approved in reference to the mezzanine space. Mr. Kevin Morse, attorney.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. My name is Kevin Morse, attorney, Woodbridge, New Jersey, appearing on behalf of the applicant Snack Innovations Incorporated. Subject properties at 41 Ethel Road West in Piscataway. The board's familiar with the site. Snack Innovations produces, manufactures healthy snacks. Been conducting business in the municipality at that location for a number of years. The business is doing well. It continued to grow, and we appeared before this board back in 2022 and received site plan and bulk variance approval for the applicant to construct a substantial addition to its existing facility at the property for warehouse area and office space. Part of that approval included a variance for 57 parking spaces. The approval was memorialized by a resolution dated February 9th of 2022. Now, subsequent to the approval, the applicant had switched its engineer to a project engineer, switched its architect, and over the last 2 years has been constructing and has, for all intents and purposes, finished a really beautiful addition and nice site improvements. But with the switching of the architect, some confusion ensued, and the applicant constructed a 2,984 square foot mezzanine within the approved warehouse area. The architect was under a misapprehension that mezzanine space in a warehouse does not constitute floor space. I can tell you in some municipalities that is the case. That is not the case in Woodbridge Township. But in any event, 2,984 square feet of mezzanine that was not approved was constructed in the existing approved building. Now, that mezzanine area would require parking of one parking space for every 500 square feet, 5.97, a total of 6 spaces. We have a parking variance for 57 spaces, so there was no parking on site available for the mezzanine area. That's the bad news. The good news is part of the original approval called for the applicant to construct 1,000 square feet of additional office space area. Now, that office space area at 1 per 200 square feet would equate to 5 spaces. So the applicant, the construction is done. They're desperately seeking to get a TCO and conduct their business operations. So the solution we propose for you is the applicant is prepared to forego the construction of the 1,000 square foot of office space. If we do that, because it hasn't been constructed yet, that frees up 5 parking spaces. We need 1 additional space for the mezzanine area. It's inside the approved building, and that additional space can be achieved by simply striping a space in the constructed and approved parking area. There'll be no amendments or physical construction necessary to put the space in, and thus no increase in impervious coverage. So that's how we get to the 6 spaces. And the applicant understands, should the board look favorably on adjusting the approval to accommodate this, that if in the future the applicant seeks to construct that 1,000 square foot office space or any other improvements, that they would have to come back to the board because that would trigger a requirement to get an amended site plan approval. This is really an adjustment to an existing approval, but this solution today that we propose keeps us in parity with the 57 parking spaces that were approved and will allow the applicant to go forward and get its operations underway in its beautiful new facility and to enjoy the benefit of the substantial investment it has made in the Piscataway business community to make healthy snacks for all of us. So that's our request. And I submitted a letter to that effect with 2 sketches. The sketch said equipment mezzanine. It's really just a warehouse mezzanine. That's how the architect labeled it, but it's simply warehouse area. And we request that you look favorably upon this request to accommodate the adjustment. And again, we maintain parity, required parking, and no changes to the existing constructed approved site plan.
Madam Chair, if I may, just briefly, this is one of those cases where really little de minimis changes, the staff can handle those in-house and deal with them. This isn't a full-blown change that would require Mr. Morse to come back for an amended site plan with experts and things like that. It kind of in a gray area. I think it's a little bit bigger than the staff can just, do in-house on their own. And that's why Mr. Morse is in front. As he indicates, it doesn't change. The proposed change would keep the parking where it is. Mr. Morse, I just had one question for clarification, just so I have it in my own head. In the prior resolution on page 2, paragraph 4, the applicant had proposed 1,420 square foot office mezzanine.
Oh, that was existing.
Okay, so you're not it's not that you added to that, it's just a new section with 2984.
Correct.
Okay, because I was saying if you were just adding the 1,500, it might even make it more de minimis.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so it's a new
Brand new mezzanine.
construction
Right.
within the warehouse. Okay.
Correct.
So again, Madam Chair, this is more for the board to consider Mr. Morse's request. And if the board feels that the slight change is appropriate, I think just a motion approving the change would be appropriate, and that would give the staff the ability to um, inspect and issue the CO, I guess is what, and Ms. Corcoran can speak to that, is the holdup.
Right, they came in for a zoning permit, which was denied because this wasn't part of the original approval. So if the board does look favorably upon this, then the applicant can reapply for their zoning permit, and then the construction
What is
official
that?
in his department can finish the review.
Jingle bells?
I'm gonna apologize, that is my clock. I will take
Oh.
that down.
All good.
Invaded by jingle
Once
bells?
we finish this matter.
I
My
thought
apologies.
I thought I was in Disney World for a moment.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Okey doke.
But staff has no issue with this.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, board members, does everyone agree or would have any questions? Ms. Cahill, anyone? Hearing no. Questions on the board? Would someone like to propose a resolution or a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Cochran?
Madam Chair, I will make the motion that
Thank you.
that this matter be approved, that they can construct the 2,984 square foot mezzanine, and they will add the additional parking space as Mr. Morse has indicated.
And with the understanding that if they do add that office space later, they'll have to come back before the board for site
Correct.
plan approval. Perfect.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that motion. Reverend Kenny, I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My last planning board meeting for the year, so the best to all for happy holidays and a blessed new year. Thank you.
And same to you.
holidays.
Same to you.
You also, Kevin.
Thank you.
Take care, Kev. Thank you for switching that prior matter also.
My
Much
pleasure.
appreciated.
Item number 13, 24 PB 18/19V as in Victor, GWL 4 Corporate Place LLC, preliminary and final site plan and bulk variance.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the
Good
board.
afternoon.
David Prasad from Bob Smith and Associates for the
Mhm.
applicant GWL4 Corporate LLC.
Yes.
Property is at 4 Corporate Place, Block 5001, Lot 2.02 in the LI5 zone. This is a continuation hearing. We had the first hearing on November 13th, 2024. It was a
Mhm.
preliminary and final site plan with bulk variances to remove an existing office space and patio area from an existing warehouse and construct 13 truck loading spaces, 11 tractor trailer storage spaces with 219 parking spaces, a bioretention basin, and some other site improvements as well. We requested 2 bulk variances for a minimum rear yard setback where 50 feet is required and 49.62 feet is existing. And for off-street parking, where 286 spaces are required and 219 spaces are proposed with 8 EV charging spaces. The applicant at the prior hearing agreed to install the fiber optic conduits, excuse me, along the property frontage, eliminating that variance, and also install fencing around the proposed bioretention basin, also eliminating that variance. I believe testimony was completed on November 13, 2024, but the board decided to postpone the vote so the applicant can provide a written letter from the current tenant, who is a bit difficult, stating that the tenant will vacate at the end of January 2025. Such written confirmation has been provided to the board's professionals, and it was submitted prior to this hearing. Tonight, I have all of the applicant's professionals available. I don't have any direct questions for any of the witnesses, but they are available if the board should have any questions. And with
Mhm.
that, I'll leave it to the board.
Members of the board, do you have any questions of the witnesses that appeared in our previous meeting? They are available for your questioning.
Madam Chair, if I may jump in, I guess, Ms. Corcoran, I guess, what do we I remember when we left off the last one, what assurances if we approve this tonight that this is actually gonna, I guess they won't be able to pull building permits or anything like that?
Correct. I just want to say, I did go back out to the site today. And quite frankly, there's just trailers all over that property. You cannot circulate that site. I think it is extremely important that we do condition, if the board looks favorably upon this, that there be a condition that no zoning permits, no building permits can be granted until all these violations have been addressed and until the tenant has left the premises.
And if I can just follow up on that, Mayor Wallen, my understanding is and Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong, the code enforcer also went out and inspected it. And absent the trailers, he felt that there had been a significant improvement to the site in terms of the other items that were of concern to the board and the board's professionals in the past. It's those trailers, and I guess, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I assume the trailers will go when the tenant goes. But I would certainly urge the board as a condition of any approval to put that nothing will be issued in terms of building permits, zoning permits, anything of that nature until the tenant has vacated and those items have been remediated. And again, Mr. Prasad's correct, a letter was submitted from the tenant indicating the target date for the vacation.
Is there a stated target date?
Yes, 1/31/25, Madam Chair.
That will be incorporated in the motion?
If the board acts favorably, I would suggest that a condition of approval be that, and that nothing will, they can have their resolution, they're just not going to move forward until the municipality is satisfied that the site has been remediated appropriately. And I think that would be a fair compromise. Mr. Prasad, do you have any objection to that?
Oh, no, we anticipated this would be a condition of the approval. I spoke to the applicant earlier today, and they completely understand. They want the tenant out of there as much as you do.
Should we open to the public?
You should again, Madam Chair, real quickly.
Members of the public, this is a continuation of a previous application before the board at our previous meeting on November the 13th. If anyone in the public would like to ask any questions about this application, would you please raise your hands and indicate your question? Did you have a question?
No, Madam Chair.
Closed to the public. Okay, board members, would someone like to make a motion and
Just Madam Chair,
including all of the?
I should have put this on the record and I apologize and I didn't mean to cut you off. The record should reflect that while Mr. Atkins was present for the last hearing, he is not present today, so he would not be voting. Mr. Foster, who was not present at the last hearing, but is present this evening, has reviewed the transcript of the hearings and has signed the appropriate document indicating he is fully familiar with the facts of the case and he would be entitled to vote.
So he's eligible to vote, okay.
Yes,
fine.
Madam Chair. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion incorporating all of the discussion that we've had and conditions?
Reverend Kenny, I'll make a motion that we go forward with this application pending the conditions are met. As I had stated before, this is the reason why we're having this discussion again tonight, because of the cleanup. It wasn't completed and the applicant wasn't ready to move. But according to this date, if the applicant complies with everything, I make a recommendation that we approve.
Do I have a second?
Madam Chair.
Who's that? Whose name is that? Who's making that second? Okay, Mr. Barlow will enumerate all the conditions.
I'm sorry, Madam
I
Chair.
said you will enumerate the conditions.
They
of the
will be
motion.
set forth in the resolution, 100%,
Okay.
Madam Chair. Everything that's
Okay.
been agreed to on the record, I will incorporate into the resolution for next month.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Happy
too.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
David.
Take care.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Item number 14, LRN Properties LLC, bulk variance and minor subdivision, 24 PB 08/09V.
Sorry, I have a little problem.
Mr.
Okay, there.
Wiley.
Oh, you were there.
Yes, this is an application for a minor subdivision that would permit us to renovate an existing house which has a lot of deficiencies as an older home. And it also would project that on the adjacent subdivided lot, a new single-family home would be erected. Tonight, we have our site engineer, our architect, as well as our planner. We also have the principal of LRN Properties, who actually, this is her family's property. If
Okay.
we could have her testify if there becomes certain questions with the application. So without further ado, I'd like to start with Les Walker, our engineer.
Mr. Walker, if you could state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give us your professional address, sir.
Sure. Leslie, Leslae Walker, Walker. My address is Meridian Engineering, located at 1199 Amboy Avenue, Suite 1D in Edison, New Jersey.
If you raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give before this board will be the whole truth?
I do.
Your witness, Mr. Wiley.
Yes, Mr. Walker, could you describe the existing conditions on the property?
Mr. Wiley, can you just qualify him first?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You're correct. So what licenses do you possess with the state of New Jersey?
I am a licensed professional engineer and have been for over 20 years, and my license is in good standing.
And you were involved.
I've been in front of this board before. I have a master's and a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University in civil engineering. Testified throughout the state, probably, for the last 20 plus years, all through Middlesex County, Somerset, Hunterdon, and then further north and south on a more limited basis. But I have been in front of this board previously.
And I'd like him to be deemed as an expert in engineering.
He's accepted.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Could you describe to the board what the existing conditions are of the property at 60 Normandy Drive?
Sure. Let me share my screen. What I'm going to share is a colored rendering of the proposed site, but you can see the surrounding improvements on that plan. Can
Mr.
everybody
Walker
can
and
see my plan there?
Mr. Walker, Mr. Wiley, we'll mark that as A1, and then any other exhibits you're going to utilize A2, A3, etc.
Yeah, this is the only one that hasn't been submitted to the board as a whole. I did send it over to Ms. Corcoran and Ms. Buckley earlier this evening.
Yep.
On the site is known as Lot 1.01 in Block 3805, 60 Normandy Drive in the Township of Piscataway. The irregularly shaped lot has approximately 15,408 square feet. The shape of the site resembles kind of two overlapping triangles, with the one further to the west being the larger of the two triangles. It has frontage on Normandy to the north, Hancock to the west, and a very small, less than 1 foot long odd frontage on Bristol. That is creates an existing condition variance. Um, it has an existing single family home on where one of the two homes shown on the plan here is the one further down the page on the right. There's an existing home there. Um, it it's if you're familiar with the site, if you've taken a drive by, you can tell that it's an older home. The first floor, actually, you step down one step when you go into the home from the grade. You step down, and the lower level, it has like squatty windows because it's got low ceilings. So it's definitely a home that needs a little bit of love. There are a handful of existing trees on the site, generally along the streets, and the rest of the site outside of the home, the driveway, and is grass right now. You see on the plan, um, we're proposing two homes, a subdivided lot that would create a second lot to build a second home, and then some modifications, additions, deletions on the existing home that we will get to in testimony here. Um, the improvements shown along Normandy Drive on this plan are from a Remington Vernick plan that they prepared for the township. The township is looking to undergo capital improvements along Normandy, maybe in conjunction with a warehouse that's going to be coming in the neighborhood. I believe it's already been approved. But there's Remington Vernick's plan is incorporated into our site plan here. And then we show some additional improvements that the applicant would make outside of those Normandy Drive and intersection Hancock improvements that the applicant would have to go on undergo. So as I said, we're seeking to subdivide minor subdivision just to create kind of really two triangle lots instead of one double triangle. Each home, the new home, and then the modification of the existing home would end up having 4 bedrooms and a 2-car garage. The lot B is the smaller of the two triangles, again at the bottom. The existing home, that lot is the smaller of the two. It would have approximately 5,812 square feet. The architect will cover in detail the changes to that home, but generally removing the first story, the portion in the back of the first story addition in the back. I looked at historic maps, and it goes back at least 25 years, and then after that, the older maps get kind of grainy. But there's an addition, 1-story addition in the back of the existing house that actually is over the property line by 2.8 feet, I believe it is, onto lot 5.01. And that's been there for many, many years. But with the modifications to that home, we'd be looking to demolish that part, have it removed, and have it off of the adjacent property, correct that situation. um, We'd be removing, they're going to remove the second story, raise the ceilings on the lower level, raise the floor. I spoke earlier about the floor when you first walk into the house is actually a step down, raising that floor up to a reasonable, so that you're not stepping down, you're stepping up into the home, and then raising the ceiling so you have regular height ceilings, and then adding a second story with a new second story with 3 bedrooms. So to get to the fourth bedroom, one of those bedrooms will be on the first floor, and that's for an aging parent that the applicant is taking care of. They'll also be adding a garage and a small front porch to give the front of the house some character. The second lot on the top here is that lot is 9,596 square feet, and it's a new construction 4-bedroom, 2-car garage home. And you know, the architect will get into specifics on that, but again, both are 4 bedrooms and 2-car garage. In addition to the frontage improvements on Normandy, I said the applicant's going to be installing sidewalks, curbs, and road widening to get to the full 15-foot half-width cartway on the applicant's side of Hancock, and then with a taper at the end, sidewalk, driveway opening, all those and street trees, both on Normandy and Hancock. For grading and drainage, the site generally drains from the south to the north towards Normandy. Per the township requirements, we've designed dry wells that will handle 3 inches of runoff from the roof areas during a fairly substantial storm, to put those in dry wells in the ground, and then once those are filled, it's a simple bypass at the downspout at the house, and it'll run over the grass just like probably just about every house in that neighborhood currently does, with the exception that these will have dry wells to accommodate that first bit of water that comes off the roof. The sanitary, gas, water, they're all available in the road. The improvements to Normandy by the township are incorporating storm sewer that does not currently exist along that street, with the exception of one small great inlet up at the intersection of Hancock and Normandy. But there are several inlets and pipes right along our property frontage, that the town is going to be installing. And then we are also including the required fiber optic twin conduit along Normandy and Hancock frontage. Lighting and landscaping, really, there's no lighting other than traditional residential lighting. A light by the garage, a light at each external doorway, and that's really it for lighting. We are proposing 6-foot PVC fence, vinyl fence, to infill where needed. There are existing fences around the back sides and sides of the properties, and just wherever there's a gap or it's needed to infill, we're going to continue the same fence that's there and just put in new panels where needed. In the backyard of Normandy, which or the backyard of Lot A, which is the new home at the top, that backyard actually faces Normandy, and anywhere along the backyard there, and then anywhere where there's a small gate or something in a front or side yard, we are proposing a 4-foot picket style fence, with some landscaping along the bottom of it. So in addition to the 6 street trees, we're also proposing 8 evergreen trees. And then, like I said, along the fences, along the foundations of the homes, the fronts of the homes, we're doing proposing 119 shrubs and perennials that will pretty it up nice and give it a good curb appeal. So, as noted in the township reports, there are a number of variances required for this application. So minimum lot area required is 10,000 square feet. Lot A, as I said, is 9,596 square feet, and Lot B is 5,812 square feet. The planner will get into it, but there are numerous other lots in the neighborhood that are substandard in size. Minimum frontage. This is an existing condition down at Bristol, where I mentioned there's like 0.64 feet of frontage actually around the corner onto Bristol. That's an existing condition we can't do anything about. Minimum lot depth, where 100 feet is required. Lot A, right here in the tightest part of the 2 triangles, has a lot depth of 55.89 feet. Again, that's existing today, and it'll remain no change. It just becomes a variance because we're changing the configuration of the lots. Lot B, because of the way the lot depth is measured, that'll actually have a depth of 76.5 square feet. Again, it's just it's a function of the shape of the lot. Minimum front yard setbacks for Lot A, the new home, we are showing proposing 25 feet where 35 feet is required on Hancock, and 24.5 feet in the back along Normandy. Lot B, the existing home. The existing home is right now it's less than 10 feet off of the right of way, with the addition of a small porch to provide a little bit of character on the front of the house. That goes down to 6.7 feet. So that's a variance that exists today, but we're making it 3 feet tighter than it currently is. Side yard, again, with the addition of the garage for the existing home, the side yard from the garage to the side property line along lot 8.01 is 5.7 feet where 10 feet is required. Minimum rear yard for the existing home. Um, I mentioned before it's 2.8 feet over the property line, so it's a negative 2.8 feet setback. With the removal of that portion of the building, it would bring it back onto the applicant side of the line, and it would be 1.2 feet off the property line. And that's the location of the existing two-story portion of the house. So it's not moving the line, expanding the house in that corner. It's just that's after we take off the one-story addition that encroaches onto lot 5.01. That's where the corner of the existing structure is. Finally, maximum lot coverage. We're fine on lot A, but lot B, again, the existing home with modifications, we are at 28.8%, where 20% maximum is required in the ordinance. We were under a previous version of the plan we've submitted. This is our fourth submission of these plans. During the workshop meeting, it was suggested that we add a garage. We added a two-car garage, and that's what caused us to go over that 20%. And at the time, the discussion was that the lot coverage variance violation would be more amenable to the board than having a no garage on the home. There are two existing nonconformities that are being eliminated by the application as well. There's a shed in the back of the existing home, and nonconformities for side and rear yard setbacks to that shed are being eliminated. So in summary on the variances, there are 10 bulk variances required. 6 are created by the proposed development. 3 are non-conforming conditions due to the irregular shape of the parcel. 1 is an existing non-conforming condition that we're improving. That's the rear setback on lot B, and then we have two existing violations that are being eliminated, corrected. I can stop, or I can roll right into the township professional letters.
I just want to add just one thing in terms of the parking standards. We now meet both RSIS standards as
I'm
well.
sorry, yes, that's correct. For a 4-bedroom house, 2.5 parking spaces required with a 2-car garage and a minimum 20-foot wide driveway. That equates in the residential site improvement standards as 3.5 spaces. So 2 required, 3.5 provided for each lot. So we meet the parking standard for both lots.
So then let's do the review of the reports.
Okay, so as I said, that we've already submitted. We've submitted 4 times, gotten feedback from professionals or at the workshop meeting, and the letter came back from CME this morning, and there's only one minor note correction that is noted in that letter, and we have no problem taking care of that. The Delaware and Raritan Engineers letter that came in November 13th of this year.
Excuse me, Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker,
I'm
just
sorry?
with the CME report, what's the one item?
It was a note in the a number in the bulk table. We actually had a side yard, I believe, a lot depth indicated for lot A that was less than what the town planner measured it as. So they had say our number was 71 feet. It's really like 75 feet. So we're going to make that correction. It's
Okay.
it's in our favor, and we agree to make that change. The Charlie's letter from Delaware and Raritan Engineers really had nothing. We agree to everything that's in his letter. As I said, we've submitted on several occasions, and there's only general comments about if a pre-construction meeting is required and stuff like that. So all boilerplate stuff that we have no problem with. The Division of Engineering, Planning and Development memo dated June 25th, revised December 9th of this year. The only question, and I already kind of covered it. We're okay with everything. Number 4 was a comment about the lot B on the existing home parcel being at 28.8% maximum coverage, where 20% is allowed, and there was suggestion that we should reduce the garage or reduce the house or something to get it more in line. That was a again, that was a matter of discussion at the workshop meeting, and that's why the house looks the way it does today, because we went back and updated it per recommendations during that meeting. But everything else we have no problem complying with. I just wanted to put that one on record.
Madam Chair, can I jump in? I just want to let the counselor for the applicant and the professionals know. In the 30 years that I've been involved in planning this town, we've never approved anything at this magnitude of with the oversized coverage. You have a lot, it's a 10,000 square foot zone. You only have the existing house, and I know the property very well, 5,800 square feet. You're asking for almost 28% over coverage. We've never, ever approved anything like that.
28% is what's required, or 20% is what's required, and we're at 28.
I know.
So we're
that's what I'm
over
saying.
by.
We've never, ever approved anything at 28%. My advice is go back, slice that living space in Newsford in half, and then maybe do a one-car garage. And it'll substantially down. You got to remember, that house sits up right on the road. It's an older house. It sits right on the road. You're potentially going to have a brand new lot next door. And I know the property's irregularly shaped and it's challenging, but you can't have everything here. I mean, I've never seen it. I know this is unusual application, but 30 plus years, we've never approved anything with this much over coverage.
And Madam Chair, if I may, this is Dawn Corcoran. The staff has consistently expressed our concern about the size of these dwellings, about the coverage. Yes, we did suggest that a garage be added to the home, but that was also with the understanding that the home would be reduced in size. That being said, I do have one question with regard to the calculation of the 28.8% building coverage. Did that also include the proposed covered porch?
I would have to go back and look at that. I believe that it did, but I would have to go back and review that.
That's just something that I wanted to bring up. I was running the numbers this afternoon, and I don't believe it did. Again, you can correct me, but I think the coverage may even be slightly higher.
If I may also add, and I'm concerned about there's, I believe on one of the houses, there's access points to the basement from the outside. Very concerned about that. Also concerned about 2 front entries. I just don't want this turning into a rooming house in the neighborhood. and then
Yeah.
it becomes an enforcement action.
I,
This has the, council, let me finish. This has the writing of that. Now, I know that maybe the owners, whoever will say, no, we're gonna live there. But I've seen funnier things when applicants say that, and then about 2 years later, they end up selling the property.
we would be willing to have a restrictive covenant,
Oh, I can guarantee you, you will be having one.
okay?
Mm.
But, you know, this would alert any potential buyers that, look, this is a single family house.
Yeah, but here,
The
council, here's part of the problem. Even though there's a covenant, the problem is it becomes an enforcement action with complaints. We've seen that around town now, that some of the covenants, and it becomes an enforcement action with the employees from the property maintenance doing this. I mean, I just rather, no, as far as I'm concerned, no basement ingress outside. That's a non-starter. And there's gonna be some other things they're gonna have to change on it. You remember, the applicant is proposing on a very irregularly shaped lot. A lot of over coverage here, excessive stuff. I get what they're trying to do, but you know, they gotta work with the town, and to me,
That's where they live.
planning wise, I don't know, I got a problem with this.
And if I may, just also keep in mind, I know the architect is still gonna come on, but if, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have a bedroom in the attic for each of these dwellings. Let me see, do we have,
Yeah,
That has rooming house written all over it.
and I believe one has 2 utility rooms. Tom,
correct, and I was going to, thank you, Tom, the one on proposed lot B, there's a utility room on the first floor, but then in the basement, it also shows a proposed laundry / utility room. I mean, what is in that utility room? What exactly is in that bump out on the first floor?
Well, when the architect comes on, then he'll be able to cover that, but that's an existing, that's part of the existing house, but he'll be able to address that when.
And we're just bringing it, and again, we're just bringing it up because if there's very minimal in that room, it very well can be converted into a second kitchen. Now we have the father's suite, we have a kitchen, we have a bathroom. And again, it really is setting itself up to be more than a single family dwelling.
I be honest with you, counselor, I think your client needs to go back and revamp these plans. Because this board, as long as I've been on the planning board, we've never ever approved something like this on this small of a lot.
Well, Mayor, I think if I can indulge the board, I'd like to talk to my client for a brief recess of.
Yeah, I
5
mean, if you want to, but I mean, I don't want to waste the board's time.
Yeah, whether she wants to.
Listen, Mr. Wiley, I want to work with the applicant here, but the thing is that this is pretty intense for that small piece of property.
Understood.
And I know it's a challenging property. I know the property in that area very well. I get it. I understand. It's not easy. Guy, you could speak with your client, so.
Yeah, let me speak with my client, and then I can advise the board whether we would come back, whether we want to go ahead with the rest of the application, and just ask for a recess for about 5 minutes.
Sure, that's fine.
I'm just alerting my client that I'll be calling her by phone, so she should have that on so I can speak to her in private.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Just make sure you mute yourself in this one.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes, sir.
depend upon what he wants to do with his client. I mean, do we take all the testimony from all their experts, or I mean,
Practically speaking, if he comes back and they're going to redo the plans, then it would make sense not to hear the rest of the witnesses, because that would change potentially the planning testimony.
well, that's what I said. I don't want them wasting time.
No,
here.
Agreed. But if he comes back and he indicates he wants to persevere, then.
I mean, just so the board members know, the town is under engineering design for Normandy Drive now, the reconstructed from Bakeland Avenue all the way down to the dead end where the the cricket fields parking lot is. So,
We should. Yeah, but let's hold off on any discussions until Mr. Wiley comes back. see Mr. Wiley back.
Yeah, Mr. Barlow, PCTV is recording. They're live, so they're asking how much longer if we know.
I would ask the one person who could tell us, but he's not here. So they need to put in some, elevator music like da-na-na.
Sounds like Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Wiley is back.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, let me just find the mayor. Hold on 1 second.
Process and,
Just
Or-
give
or-
us 1 second, Mr. Wiley. Just give
Alright.
us 1 second to make sure everybody gets back on.
all right,
Most importantly, Miss Buckley.
indispensable.
Oh, but muted.
Thank you. I got it.
We're
Okay,
good?
mayor's coming back now.
All right, this is what we would like to do. We'd like to have the architect testify as to why this proposal is as big as the board is expressing. And because there are certain unique features as to this existing building. And we can go through the process to discuss what we can knock down. And I've talked to my client, I mean, she's willing to consider, reductions, but she's been, I guess, through this process for almost 2 years now. And I think if she could hear from the board, hey, you don't need this, you don't need that, that would help a redesign and help the process. I would keep the planner off today because, again, I suspect the outcome after the architect would be substantially different, that his testimony couldn't work. But that's how I propose to do it if the board's got no objection to going on that approach.
Madam Chair, I don't have a problem listening to an architect, but I gotta tell you, if this would be the application tonight, I don't think it's gonna be successful.
I've told my client that. I think she understands that.
I mean, we're here to work with your client, but it's
Okay,
just.
but the difficulty, and I'm not blaming anyone here, it's my client's is novel to this whole process.
No, I understand that.
She's been at it for 2 years. She's, redone the plans about 4 times at this point. I realize there's still problems or issues that the board has. But I thought that if I can go in this direction, where she can hear directly from the board about why she designed some of these things,
Yeah, well,
certain things could be cut off and make it more conforming to the ordinance.
okay. Well, then do you want to call your architect?
Yes.
Since, we're agreed that we're not going to finish this evening then, Mr. Wiley. We won't call for a vote. You can bring your planner back. Let's hear
Right.
from the architect in terms of what he is able to do and if he can get to 20% and he'll
Close to
let
it.
us know.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is your architect, Mr. Wiley?
Reginald, if you could,
Okay. Sir, if you could state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give us your professional address.
Yes, I am Reginald Paget. I live at 209 Concord Place, North Brunswick, New Jersey. I graduated from Howard
Okay,
University.
well,
have a
before you
bachelor's-
give me your
just
qualifications,
one-
let me swear you in. You raise
Go
your right
ahead.
hand. You swear the testimony you give before this board will be the whole truth?
Yes,
Now, Mr. Wiley will go over your qualifications.
If you could give me your educational background?
I graduated from Howard University with a bachelor's degree, and I have a standing license since 2000 and in good standing since 2009.
And have you ever provided testimony to planning boards and zoning boards in the state of New Jersey?
I have.
Madam Chairman, I'd like him to be deemed as an expert in architecture.
I think you're muted, Madam Chair.
Does he have any other degrees other than a bachelor's?
I do not.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your testimony in the state of New Jersey?
I've testified in Newark on a few of their boards, and that's primarily it.
You're testifying tonight as a planner?
No, as an architect.
As an architect.
Yeah, we have a planner, but no planning testimony will be given tonight.
I've also given testimony in Neptune. I'm sorry.
And your architectural license is in good standing in the state of New Jersey, sir?
Yes.
Okay, you can testify as an architect, as a
Okay, sure.
licensed architect.
Yes. So I may not be able to speak as eloquently as Les Walker, but please forgive me and allow me to just give the best I can moving forward. My client owns this property. I think you've heard a lot from Les, and I believe his testimony to be as accurate as possible, and we've worked a lot together. The current property that my client owns deems to be a little bit inadequate for her and her family. She has a rather large family, so she's really the matriarch of the family is really kind of taking charge and trying to develop this strictly for her family. So she brought me on to come up with these plans. She knew based on what I advised her that this is an odd lot, and the size of the existing house and where it's located on the property is already non-conforming. And I said that we're going to have to go for some variances if you really want to pursue doing an addition on the existing property. Not and also based on the setbacks and everything in the zoning, even adding a new house on the new on the divided lot, which is lot A. So just to discuss about lot B, which is the existing house. The existing house, as Les described it, is the main entrance. You come in, you got to step down. It's really right off the front street. You step down. That's where the living room, and then you enter into the kitchen. The kitchen is already down there as well, and then there's a utility closet with the laundry. Then there you step up a couple of steps in the back and the rear, which is primarily like a den, and then it leads out into the backyard. If I may, I will share my screen just to kind of give more context to what I'm trying to describe. So, and this is the main entry where you come in down.
Mr. Barlow's aspect, this would be A2.
Okay.
And if you could just describe the exhibit briefly, Mr. Paget, for the record.
What I'm showing is just a Google map view of just the existing house and the size of the house on the lot as it stands right now. What I was describing was in this front portion here is the and if I may, I will show as exhibit the next exhibit, sure, sir, which is the existing plan, which indicates the existing living room, which is dissected by a stair leading up to the second floor. This is where the existing kitchen is. This is where the utility closet is, and their laundry room currently. This is where the back den area is as well, a couple of steps up. And then on the second floor, there are, in actuality, this is one bedroom. So it's 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. As you see, they're relatively undersized as it stands. That's the extent of the existing. So as we move on, I can show you what we did for our addition as it stands. And the gray box is the existing layout. This is an existing utility room which has the water boiler and the furnace. That stuff that's in there. Electric is existing here. What we were gonna do is remove that stair, create a stair up to just this level to match the new level, and then this is the father's suite. She has an elder father that she wants to take care of, so she's just giving him a nice bedroom of his own with access to the kitchen that we're creating. Right, he has a bathroom, his own bathroom, and bedroom, closet, entry with a little bit of a foyer, so it doesn't open up into the outdoor elements entering into his living quarters. So they would share the kitchen. My client would live in this particular dwelling. So we would have a kitchen here, living room, and then below is a small rec room with a laundry. And I indicated utility. I understand. I heard there's 2 utility rooms, but in some cases, when you're increasing the size, you like to have a place where you could have dual um, heating and cooling, and then you want to provide. So this may not necessarily be a utility, but quite frankly, it would just be a laundry and the rec. That's all we would do there. As Les testified, there we are creating a 2-car garage. We tried to keep the footprint as true to what an actual garage would have to be, and the requirements were to have it at least 20 by 24. That's why you see it carved into the living area space. There's really minimal amount of space here that we could add based on the size of the lot. So I'll say on the floor above, we wanted to add a couple more bedrooms. So this now we were able to add a nice gracious primary suite with a nice primary bath, a walk-in closet, and then we have an office bedroom, and then we utilize the half story for another separate bedroom to make it the 4th bedroom. All right. So and that is property B. Property A.
Mr. Paget, before you go on to that, I guess the concern is the lot coverage based on the size of the additions to the house on lot B. So, and I think Mr. Wiley proffered, how can we make the house smaller so that we have less lot coverage?
And Tom, if I may, I know the architect just said that the garage, it's a 2-car garage. And just for the record, the zoning ordinance requires that the garage be 12 feet by 20 feet with no obstructions. So that is why one of the comments in the report was perhaps we could look at a 1-car garage. Maybe that's where we could cut some of this coverage.
Yeah, I think the only issue there, of course, I guess it's also a function of number of bedrooms, but
Bless you.
it looks like we would only be able to provide 2 cars off street, for 1-car garage plus a driveway. And driveway's a little tight, but so that's the issue there, I think.
And that's with the based on the 4 bedrooms.
Right.
So was there any consideration to eliminating one of the bedrooms then? I mean, do you need the attic with the bedroom and the bathroom?
That was one of the things that we were going over with our client, and the client really needs the space. I mean, that's a big part of what is needed for her to function and live there with the size family that she has.
Well, if I can ask this, and I'm not sure that it's the question for you, but does your client give any consideration to perhaps moving into the new dwelling so that she has the 4 bedrooms, a new dwelling? That way, this home doesn't need so much renovation. It doesn't need the 4 bedrooms. It doesn't need the 2-car garage. Doesn't need the 2 separate entries. I mean, has any consideration been given to that?
Oh, there has been consideration, but I believe the amount of people that she's trying to accommodate requires her to have that amount. Um, and she would prefer to live in this dwelling versus the new dwelling. Um, but that is something that can be a consideration, and we can have that conversation with her
You need to be about
later.
Madam Chair, if I may too, this is Councilwoman Cahill.
Oh, I think you're muted now, Councilwoman.
I'm muted. So sorry. Am I muted here?
No, you're good.
Okay. With regard to the 4th bedroom, why not make that the office space without the bathroom and just make the office space that's on that second level that bedroom? You're looking, if you could go to the second floor, you already have a primary bath and a secondary bath. Why not make that office the bedroom and they share one bath? I have 3 bedrooms. You have a powder room, a full bath downstairs, the powder room downstairs, a full bath upstairs, another full bath on that second floor. Why not make the office on that 3rd level without a bathroom?
We can take that into consideration.
I don't know if that saves
If that
space,
pleases,
but I
if
know
that
there
pleases.
was.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna save.
No, it's not going to save the space. Actually, to be honest with you, it's not as big a deal. But when you're talking, I think, the concern we have in this town, of course, is, as the mayor mentioned, a lot of folks do get the deed restrictions, those covenants. And then at the end, we, as a township, are still paying to chase when the house gets sold, the new owners, sometimes claiming ignorance, sometimes putting locks on doors. And that was really more what I was speaking to. So actually, just ignore that, but something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, the thought process behind the design is really to make the best quality of space for the folks that are going to live here possible, and make it as comfortable for her family that's going to live there.
Okay, yeah, I certainly
It's
understand.
just quality of space. I mean, I think the office was a little bit small and it's shy of space that um, she wanted to allocate for one of her family members.
No, Mr. Paget, I certainly understand her concerns, and I appreciate you have a client, you're trying to address her wishes and her concerns. The problem is there's a zoning table and a zoning ordinance, and for to by creating this 2-lot subdivision, you're expanding a house on a small lot.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue that I get that we're looking for some clarification, direction, suggestions is how do you make this smaller so that
Bigger house.
you have, if you wanted to build this house on a 10,000 square foot lot, God bless you, it'd be great. But you have a 5,800 square foot lot, which means the house should be smaller, not bigger. So I understand what you designed and why you designed it, but what we're trying to get some clarification is you could design something smaller, correct?
And then it would, yes, I could, and I don't believe it would meet her needs.
Okay, well,
And she's got a building.
if there's no, the feeling I'm getting, if there's no attempt to modify the proposed structure, and as a result, the application is denied, she's living in that
No,
house the way it is.
And you
So-
know what? We quite understand that, and
So we're
the
looking
purpose of
for-
us being here is to get approval, and we will make whatever modifications if that the board needs us to make.
Well, but we don't want to make them for you. We're asking for some direction. If you made it a one-car garage, and
Yeah,
you
that would
perhaps,
certainly save money, and I recognize that would probably sacrifice a bedroom.
and
unless-
sacrifice a bedroom, if you made it a 3-bedroom, 1-car garage, it would seem, putting aside what the applicant would want, is it doable? But I'm not an architect, so I don't know if you, it would appear to me you could design that. She may not want that, but you could design that, correct?
I can. Yes.
And again, also, and I'm sorry, this is Dawn Corcoran. Keep in mind, the covered porch that comes into play with the building calculation as well. So I don't even, when Mr. Walker was giving his testimony, I don't know whether that was even included in the building coverage calculation. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, well,
moving
look, and obviously the covered porch is an optional feature.
Of course.
It adds to, curb appeal.
The aesthetics.
And aesthetics.
But also, Mr. Wiley.
But it might kick us over the 20%. That's.
Mr. Wiley, I've also seen a lot of covered porches after a couple of years being closed in illegally.
Right, but you could have a restriction.
I'm not saying that this would happen in this case, but
Right.
it happens quite frequently.
Mr. Paget, how many square feet is the proposed house on Lot B as you designed it?
According to, I think Les has that number.
Oh, all right.
I took a look at Les Walker again. I took a look at the possibility of shaving down the garage to a 1-car garage. Now, with it bumped into the house to allow for the door, you could really only shave off maybe 8 feet, so you'd save about 160 square feet, and that would get our number from down to around 26%. We're at 28.8. That would get us down to 26%, but still not the 20% that is required, and that's just going to a 1-car garage with a driveway that would provide for another parking space outside.
And unless and that's still including, you said that bump, right? So could you technically tighten up that living/dining room area, and then?
We could. We were trying to work as best as we could with the existing structure without having to demo. If you look at this, we're really trying to work within the confines of the existing structure, trying to manage that aspect of it as best we could to minimize amount of construction cost associated with the work, and just by creating an addition. But certainly this can all be relooked at and thought out based on what the client is willing to do.
Well,
Unless if we eliminated the bump out, what would we be reducing the footprint by?
What bump out, John?
There's a utility room on what's the first floor.
Reggie, is that existing utility room off of the
Right.
father's suite? Is that something that could go away, or that's something that's where all the
Oh,
mechanical?
it could go to the
system are?
basement, I imagine.
It could go away. We just have to reroute the utilities. That's all. It
It's
certainly
an
can go
expense
away.
issue, but it's
That would
not.
help.
And that's what, 7.5 by 17?
7.5 by 12 foot
12,
7.
I'm sorry. My eyes are going. Sorry, Les.
So just under 100 square feet there. So that, you know, you're looking at another 1%. So now you're down around 25%. I know, or at least I seem to recall that. So she's you know, caring for her elder father. That's reason for the first bedroom, first floor bedroom, and then it's, you know, her and her husband, and then two older sons. So, you know, the idea of 3 bedrooms really doesn't function when you have two older boys. I believe I have 4 children in a bi-level, and my kids are miserable half the time because it worked when they were young and could share rooms, but they're not happy as they get older sharing a room.
Okay, Mr. Wiley, this is the mayor again. Can I ask, what's the client's intention with the other new lot? Is another relative going to live there? Are they selling it?
Yes. Yes.
That's what.
She has other relatives living there. That will be
Planning to live there.
planning to
it's-
live there.
It seems like a more practical approach would be to design
Build the house that she
n-
needs.
Yeah, design the new house as she needs on the conforming lot,
Exactly.
and leave the old small house without all the additions.
That's exactly what I was saying before, Tom. Maybe there
Yeah.
has to be consideration to
Maybe
her
just
moving. Moving
And then
into
she
the
could
new dwelling,
design-
and then just making this other one, giving it a few updates and make it maybe a little bit more marketable, or maybe it'd be more appropriate for the other family members.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing would be to remove the part where the house goes on to the other lot. Obviously, that condition needs to be corrected. But then she can design, you know, with the father's suite and everything. Look, we all have parents that are getting older. We're caring for people. I don't think anybody doesn't appreciate that, but it may be design the new house with all those amenities that she wants. And as Dawn said, make slight adjustments to the existing home. It's just a thought. I mean, as the mayor indicated, the board would like to work with the applicant, but the applicant has to work with the board.
Understood.
Is there any other comments from board members?
What was that from the board members?
Any other comments from board members? Because we like to, you know, see what all the concerns are and see if we can.
Reverend Kenny, I'd just like to make a comment. If you went to that other house, you could go up instead of going out and spreading out or being too close to the road line. You can build up and add that other bedroom up, not in that first structure where we are now, but you can go up in that second house and just remodify the older house that we're having a problem with. And maybe that would solve the problem if you talk to her about doing that on the new home construction. Adding the upper bedroom and utility up another level.
Reggie, isn't the existing house 2 stories? I mean, they're under like low ceilings, but it's already 2
Yes.
stories.
The existing house is 2 stories. Unfortunately, the ground floor again is like 6'10" ceiling height, which is probably the minimum you can have. Usually it's 7, really. It should be 7 as the minimum, but existing wise, it is very, very low.
Okay, well, that's only my possession. We're over the heights, and there's nothing else I could see.
Are there any other
Madam
comments?
Chair, if I may, Madam Chair, so you know, Dawn, I just want to say this in terms of like the 3rd floor addition. I mean, that to me is less worrisome than, you know, the expanse sort of like, you know, the footprint, meaning the garage, you know, how close it is to neighbors, all that stuff.
Agree.
Right? So, I mean, I
Agreed.
think that, um, it's less about that and more about giving that space on your, backyard setback and your side yard setbacks. You can still accomplish then the bedrooms, with trying to figure that out. Although I guess I heard Mr. Walker saying even the one-car garage doesn't give back much, with that. So Dawn, what is it? And I know we're not architects, so is it really this additional utility space next to the father suite? Or
We're-
isn't that already existing though?
It is existing.
It's already
We're
existing,
just
and
trying to
if we removed it, it would give us roughly about 1% reduction. The slicing, putting the one-car garage gives us another 2%. So we're at 25% making those two changes. It's just that other changes are more difficult because they would effectively reduce the footprint of the existing building.
And Gabrielle, that's what I think Tom and I were trying to get at. Maybe this house just doesn't meet the needs of their client. Maybe the better option is for them to design the new home on proposed lot A that can meet all of those needs, and then just maybe kind of make some renovations to this existing dwelling without having to do the addition, perhaps, or doing a very small addition, maybe not having that father suite, maybe
Yeah.
doing a one-car garage, maybe dropping the utilities to the basement, eliminating the covered porch. Maybe they can get so much closer to the 20% if they don't have to try to
Okay, so the covered
really
por-
work for
the
client.
covered porch is included in that calculation.
I still don't know, to tell you the truth.
Well,
I'm not
I mean,
sure, but they're
if-
gonna rework the numbers.
Dawn, if there's a roof, it counts, right? And if there's no roof, if it's just a stoop, it doesn't count.
Correct. So anything that's covered, anything beyond 18 inches less counts in that coverage.
So we could eliminate the roof potentially to save. What is the, we're kind of shooting in the dark here. I mean, obviously 20% is the ultimate goal, but what is a palatable number that would get us an approval and we're at 28.8% right now. What is the number that gets us where we need to be?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. if
I
we're
don't
gonna-
even want to answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is that probably 99% of the towns in this town are in compliance. Maybe even more, a higher percentage than that, so.
So then the answer is 20%. I just,
It's gotta be
to give Reggie
close to
marching
that.
orders to go back and make modifications to the house, we need to at least know what our goal is.
The problem is, this is a very unique piece of property. And
Yes.
it's very, under normal circumstances, it's close to the road and right there. And I understand what the client's trying to do, but, it's exacerbating the non-conforming use of it, or the non-conforming footprint, so to speak.
I mean, you're taking a lot that conforms to the lot area requirements, and now you're creating these, as we stated in our staff report, 2 undersized lots. You're creating all these bulk variances. I don't know how you come up with a number. I would say get to as close to 20% as you possibly can.
All right, I think that's, it's given us some guidance. My client will have to make
Yeah.
some,
Mr. Wiley, we're gonna try to work with your client, and as Mr. Barlow said, we all understand. We all have relatives that are getting older, and some are living with it. We got that. This is not an unusual thing.
no, I understand the municipal's perspective. But it's, like I said, my client, doesn't have a lot of experience in development, and this has all come as a surprise to her. And she's made what she thinks are concessions on her part, but her expectations were too high to begin with, I guess is how I would express it. But we'll make some decisions within the next month or so and decide what we're going to do from there. I realize that there may be a question whether we should carry it or if this is such a major change, we'd have to give new notices.
Well,
Dis-
Mr. Barlow, can I make a suggestion? I say we
Sure.
put them on for next month.
All right.
So they don't have to renotice or anything. And
All right, well, I
maybe wanna
appreciate
ca-
that.
They
No,
want to
I-
carry, then they can ask for us to carry it.
I
Sure.
would agree 100%. And Mr. Wiley, since what the board members' suggestions are proposing is a lessening of the variance relief that might be sought,
Correct.
I certainly don't think you need to renotice. Anybody that's on the meeting, I will make an announcement.
All
that
right.
This matter is not going to be voted on this evening. It's going to be carried to the January meeting, which is January 8th.
January
8th. So if you're here for that, you wouldn't get any new notice. Mr. Paget, if you could unshare your screen.
Sure.
8th. And Tom, just one thing, our meetings in January are going to start at 7 PM, not 7:30.
Correct, 7 o'clock. So if you're here, don't come at 7:30, come at 7. But Madam Chair, because it was a notice for this evening and there has been testimony, if there's anybody you should open it to the public, just if they have any questions, and they may have comments that may.
Members of the public, if you have any questions regarding this application, would you indicate by a show of hands or wave of hands?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Close to the public.
So, Mr. Wiley, with your consent, we'll carry this to the January 8th meeting at 7 o'clock. If
All
there are
right.
going to be new plans, please get them into the board's professionals as quickly
Okay.
as you can. And if you
Yes.
have, if you need more time, I can imagine that the board would look favorably because, as I said, I think the board wants to work with you to see if this can happen.
All right. Thank you very much, board. And,
Have a good holiday.
okay, you
Thank you.
all,
Mhm.
well,
Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Is there a motion to
Okay,
adjourn?
we have paid the bills. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Happy holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
And happy
holidays.
birthday to the mayor's wife. I
Oh,
hope.
happy
Happy
Getting
birthday.
some
birthday.